the internet, welcome back to another Mooneagle Academy video, and this time we're going to be talking about our inner voice. So one of our most important, or rather the most important relationships we have in our lives is with ourselves. And we don't tend to think about it that much, because we're always there, but again, that is the reason why that relationship is so important. It's going to be the filter through which you see every other relationship. So if you don't believe me, think about it this way. If you're someone who is very trustworthy and very open and honest, more than likely you tend to project that out into the world, and so you tend to view other people more that way. Over time, we learn through our relationships that not everyone is like us. And that's a learning process. But even so, it's still going to filter how you show up in the world for others, but also for yourself. This sort of intersects a little bit with the Mooneagle Academy video on curses. And so if you haven't watched that video, it's a great video as well to kind of get the idea of this. But our inner voice is, that dialogue that we sometimes have running in our head. And not everybody has an inner monologue, and that's okay. But we all have responses to ideas, or, we all have feedback in our minds. Like, say there's something out there that we want to do, and we'll think, oh, I want to do this. Now, whatever you're feeling back about that is a reflection of that inner voice, of that way that you see and relate to yourself. So you might say, oh, I want to try this activity, but you might have a voice that says, you're too clumsy for that, or you're not good at those sorts of things. And, or might be even more critical. This really comes into play in our relationships with others as well, particularly if we're looking for a romantic partner and we're like, oh, I like this person. And sometimes you'll have a voice that'll be like, well, they wouldn't like you. And this all comes back to where that inner voice came from. So before we even get to that, let's start to evaluate our inner voices. Are they helpful? Do they make us more productive? Do they make us happier? Does it make our relationship with others and the world easier? Or are they unhelpful, critical? Do they make things harder? Sometimes getting through our tasks for the day, it's not that the tasks themselves are that hard or difficult, but the mental energy that we have to put ourselves to make ourselves do it or to get through it can be where we're burning all our energy off. So really think about what is your inner voice. And it's not like you have just one. You might have different inner voices depending on what area of your life you're addressing. So you might have one for work, you might have another for personal relationships, you might have another one yet again for family relationships. You might have one for, your dating, your romantic self. You might have one for, trying new things, talents, creativity, anything you can think of. There's going to be an inner voice response. And again, if you're not one of those people that does have an inner monologue, like me, it might just be more of a feeling or a thought that comes to you every now and again. Again, it's about your feeling state or your evaluation, that immediate reaction you have to an idea of you engaging with something or someone. So, now, getting back to where those voices come from. This is going to track back to our early development years, when we were just like a little sponge. What's interesting is that when we're very young, our brainwave state is different than when we're an adult. So children spend a lot of time into more theta waves. And theta waves are that deep relaxation that we get in meditation. The other thing about theta waves is it does make it easier to absorb everything around us. So if you're trying to change habits, this is one of the reasons why meditation, particularly deep meditation, can be really helpful to go into those deeper core patterns and start the process of change. So when we just address things from a conscious level, it takes a lot more energy, it's a lot more work. But when we can sink into those energies at a slower brainwave state, it makes it easier for to lay down more programming in our minds. So when we were kids and we were like this open state, this clear slate for people to write on, that's what they did. They wrote on us, whether they intended to or not. We were there. And some of these voices are from our parents or guardians. They may be from siblings or other family members. They may be from early caregivers or early teachers in our lives, or people that we just looked up to and happened to say something to us or remark upon us or make observations. And maybe these were intentional, but most of the time they weren't. And I think that's really important to remember, is that a lot of the things that get programmed into ourselves were not important. To the person that was doing it, they weren't emphasizing that. They didn't mean to do that. Now, on occasion, some people did, because some people are cruel. And other times, people may have had the best of intentions, but they had a really poor execution of transmitting what their intention was to a young mind. Remember, we don't have context and understanding when we're in our development phase. We only get that with experience. The problem is that once that core idea or programming is laid down, we rarely go back to question it. It becomes the voice in our head. And over time, we hear it in our own voice. And that's the tricky part, because we think it is us, but it was really somebody else's idea about us or about a particular behavior that we've now generalized to be about larger things, about ourself, our self-worth, what we're good at, what we're not good at. So it's really important to re-engage in these things. So what you need to do, and what I need to do, this is not, when I say what you need to do, I'm including myself in this as well, is when you are trying something new, when you're trying to go after something that you desire or you want a particular type of change or experience in your life, see what the initial reaction is from that inner voice, that inner reflection that we have about ourselves. If it's, well, you can't do that, or, well, no one's going to, pay for that. No one's going to want you for that. Instead of just, going, yeah, you're right, take a moment and go back, well, where did that idea come from? Why is that true? Why wouldn't they want me for this? Why can't I do that? When did I decide that I couldn't do that? Because a lot of times we're operating on autopilot. We're doing old heuristics to predict the path in front of us. But even if those were accurate in the past, they may no longer apply. They might not be accurate anymore, and they might not have been that accurate back in the past. Maybe it was coincidence. We don't know. So I really want you to get into the habit of questioning that inner voice. That doesn't mean you never believe your inner voice. It just means you want to be, discerning of it. And you want to make sure it's actually your voice and not somebody else's from your past. Well, that's all I have to say today about the inner voice and why it matters. It is really important that we start to take ownership of ourselves and take it out of the hands of the people who maybe meant well, but didn't truly see us, because we are the people who see ourselves the most, and we know what our thoughts were, we know what our intentions were, and that is going to be the clearest picture. But we need to be able to separate our true voice, our true inner voice, from those that we have been imprinted on by others. So I hope you found this meaningful and helpful. If you want to help support me and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that. Hit the bell icon. If you want to follow me, you can join my Patreon, and as well as gaining little exclusives every month. There are other little perks that I set aside for them. If you want to leave me a PayPal donation, there's going to be a link down below as well if you just want to do a one-time thing. If you want to work with me, links will be down in first comment and also the description, so that you can book sessions with me on my website. I also have books out. Yes, I have 2 books, Drumming Down the Runes, Walking the 24 Roads, and I have a book of short stories called Tales of Mistfall that you might be interested in, as well as a meditation album called Chords of Light that is done in concert with Hemisync. So I hope this has been useful for you, and until next time, peace and blessings.